hmm All right. Welcome to BS&BEER Canada's Christmas special. It's usually the moment where we get together, reflect on some of our highlights of the previous year or what's left of this year. No, that's incorrect too. What has happened this year? I'll get it right. And I haven't even got into the eggnog like Sean yet. And maybe look at some of the things we're Jones. I am a carpenter and a builder on Grand Island in New Brunswick, Canada. I am a building science enthusiast, and this evening I am drinking a fetch from Trailway Brewing right here in New Brunswick. Over to you, Lori.
Hey folks, I am Lori Rand and I'm coming to you from Halifax I'm like there. You can't see my finger though. And I think this show is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to hearing everybody's highlights from this year. Um, I am drinking. Oh, you can't see that at all. Okay. Mm-mm.
There
I'm
you go.
drinking out of a mug that has a picture of my daughter on it. And I'm just drinking some sour cherry juice. So
Ooh,
nothing fancy, really. Over to you, Sean.
excellent. Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are on this lovely planet. Most of us are into the evening. Still afternoon here in Vancouver, which is that side of the country. And it's Christmas, and so it's time for eggnog and rum. And the rum shelf decided to pull out a bottle of Cuban rum. So cheers to all of you, because the festive season has begun, and of course, festive is with a PH. I'm super excited to share some highlights. At the same time, Lori, I'm excited to hear what everyone else is, because again, this year, 2024, has come by too quick. It was great to see some of you in 3D form, and some of you just didn't work out. But I'll make sure in 2025 we align in 3D form. So, Justin, over to you, and then we'll start to dive into the highlights.
Thanks, Sean. My name's Justin Ott. I am a builder and renovator focused on high performance, passive, and net zero in Saskatchewan. So right in the middle, zone 7A, we get the harshest of the summers and the winters, and we love showcasing what high performance building can do. And yeah, just really looking forward to kind of recapping the year with everyone. And yeah, hopefully we get some others join in and kind of hear from everyone else out there too.
Awesome. Well, who wants to kick off? Or do we want to trade back and forth?
Well, I think that's maybe a good part is we trade back and forth, because some of them, when it's the same, because we might have some similarities. So there might be some stories that we need to share depending on where we go with our travel. So um, you know what? I'm gonna bug you, bud. Kick off number one. What was your highlight number one of 2024?
Oh, 2024? Well, I think it's only fair to begin at the beginning. And let's face it, not a whole lot happens for all of us in January in Canada. Most of us are like we're getting through the Christmas season and we're just kind of recovering from that. And then the month's over and we go on. But I would say probably the first highlight would be February, where I got to see not everybody on the screen, but I got to see most of you in Las Vegas at IBS, and had the great opportunity. I was able to present there, and just an amazing time, and got to spend some time with Justin and some time with Sean. It was a great opportunity.
And Aaron, I agree with you on that. That was my number one as well. I mean, it did happen, like again almost 11 months ago, but for me was also for the three of us sitting in pretty much the front row, BS and Beer, sorry, the Building Science Symposium, That was an intense 8 hours in Vegas with all of our friends that, kind of really helped motivate us to actually create this BS&BEER Canada. So to be there and sit there and listen and learn from some great speakers, and then of course that led us to Toronto. But I mean that 8 hours, I would say, was from an educational standpoint my highlight of the year. Just so much information just thrown at it. And I mean, for most of us, we get high performance, we get building science. But I really just took away some of the language that those speakers use that I kind of took upon and was like, okay, well, how do I add that particular sentence or feature into my dialogue? And so when I'm trying to connect with people, how else can I frame it, right? I mean, as a presenter and an educator, when students don't listen or they don't learn, most of the time it's the presenter and how, what they say. And so being able to discuss building science, and maybe a different form, different language, just being able to land it and hearing from people that have been speaking a while about it and was just fascinating. So I agree with you. Vegas was fun for all what Vegas does when it comes to the International Builder Show, but that first day was my actually number one highlight of the year. So I hear you on Vegas. And again, it's what are we at? 59 days, maybe a little bit more since we do it again, right? Crazy.
It is crazy. It is crazy. And you're 100% correct. Just being able to listen to people who are knowledgeable, present well, and you can pull those key words because we've all been in a conversation where you're explaining something and you can see what you're explaining is not landing or they're not understanding what you're saying. So you can change it, rephrase it, and quite often that goes a long ways to getting your idea across.
Yeah, we look at energy, and the fact like the presenter and again, of course, the names escape me of the gentleman. I'm sure you guys will chime in here, but the fact he talked about bacon. And my ears perked up when he was talking about energy of radiation, conduction, convection, and how we can create our bacon through all energy sources. That was woke me up, that's for sure.
That's really funny. I feel like
So
I missed out.
well, hey, but again, you can go back because they're doing it again.
It's true. Well,
Yeah.
I actually got to do a lot of traveling this year, although I didn't go to Vegas. In April, I went to Switzerland and visited the SIGA facilities and got to go on tours of, their fabrication plant and to do some fun mock-ups with SIGA products. And I think what was, really fun was the lab tour where they're kind of talking about, how every day they invent a new kind of glue or adhesive. It's just kind of mind-boggling. That was really fun. And I know some of you guys have done that tour and highly recommend it if anybody who's watching can do it. That was super fun. And then on my way back, because I just missed it, I think by 2 or 3 hours, I got to meet up with Aaron and Gina and Justin. You were there, right? And a few other folks for breakfast in Toronto on my way through. So got to see you guys in 3D. Few of you.
I think Justin is frozen, but hopefully he'll
Oh,
rejoin us.
I see
But
him. He's
yes,
moving
no,
for
yeah.
me.
Is he? Okay, well, he's frozen for me. But anyways, no, it was great because and we've skipped over a few things because we've already got to April, but we can circle back. But no, it's good. It's good. Um, and that was one of the highlights of April for me. Beyond we had our own symposium, is we got to connect in person for the first time. And I know it was short, but still, nonetheless, um, getting to meet somebody you've had real conversations with in person finally, it's a wonderful experience. And thank you for making the time on your way home to, you know, break bread with us.
Oh, yeah. Anytime.
Was it break bread or break pancakes?
It might have been
French toast?
pancakes.
Yeah.
Something like
I don't
that.
know. It might have been waffles. I don't remember,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
oh,
There might have been bacon.
might have been
Of
bacon.
course.
It might.
Definitely
I
bacon.
think there was bacon actually. Um, March for me was also JLC Live. Um, that's always a wonderful experience for me. I get to hang out with Ben Bogey for the better part of a week, and if you ever have the opportunity, go out of your way to meet Ben. Um, the gentleman is a savant, um, and just a wealth of knowledge. If you have a conversation with him and you do not learn something, it is your own darn fault. That is all I'm going to say.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys are always at JLC, which of course is on the other side of the country for me in good old Rhode Island. And it's typically a few days before the Mass Timber conference in Portland. So I typically skip JLC, live vicariously through you guys, and then I head south. And this time was great. I took my family down. They got to hang out in the hotel and enjoy the benefits of Portland. And it's a great little city. If you haven't been to Portland, Oregon, especially if you like beer, it's a great place to go. But for me, March is Mass Timber, and I had the pleasure this year because I've been going for the last few years. But Mr. Mark Willie, our foreign correspondent, flew in for a day and got to tour around all the things that I've been able to see. So it was great to see Mark and to show him. Just honestly, it is one of the best conferences of the year. The way that it's run, I mean, it is a bit pricey, but they feed you. They ensure there's so much education. The turnout from the expo floor is just fascinating. I mean, and the more that we talk about the zero carbon buildings and having to build with wood, all the big players are there on display, and the mock-ups are full life. And I mean, my favorite though is locally here, Structure Craft, which is a manufacturer just down the road. They are putting together a building in Kansas City, and the structural connections are just through the roof. I mean, Laura, you saw I think the facility in Switzerland with the tech school that does a lot of the joinery, but be able to take joinery to a whole nother level
Yeah.
where you've got beams that are or columns that are 24 inches by 24 inches, and they've got these amazing connections. So really cool to see what Structure Craft is up to, and again, that's in Kansas City, so it's like, okay, well, now I want to go to Kansas City to see some of our friends that are down there when this building is connected. So the fact that mass timber is popping up in the strangest of cities in the US, can you believe it? Like Cleveland had the tallest mass timber building 2 years ago. Now Milwaukee has it in North America, and now they're actually going to have the tallest mass timber building in the world, like Milwaukee. Who'd have thought? So really cool stuff happening in the Mass Timber Conference. So yeah. And of course, IBS and Mass Timber are happening in 2025 on my calendar. So yeah, so then we got to April. Justin, you got to hang out with us again in Toronto with you were pretty much sitting with Aaron front row. I was kind of sitting back row to make sure that the audio and everything was good. And my takeaway from April again is I don't know, maybe I was falling asleep or something when Jake was talking about, but Jake has these like 20 questions that he asks his clients, and when he's working on his sales approach. That to me just kind of, you talk about the collaboration and sharing, where this is somebody that is selling and building high performance, but is willing to talk about his sales process with the group to make sure that all of us kind of help vet our clients and make sure they're the right ones. I thought his 20 questions was super empowering, and if you ever get a chance to talk to Jake, you want to get those 20 questions because they'll really help out your sales and vetting process. So that was my takeaway from Toronto.
I got to talk flashings with John Straub for a few minutes. That probably is, you think you've kind of topped it, and then you have like a brief conversation with Lloyd Alter before he gets on his bicycle at the end of the day and rides away. So it's yeah. it was just an amazing experience. And, all the presenters were just wonderful. John, Steve, Jake, Ben, um, Dr. Joe. Uh, yeah. And
And if
everything that all the proceeds from that went to a great charity too.
yeah,
Honor our
yeah,
work, or honor the work, excuse me, honor
yeah.
the work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
that
just
charity is amazing. And I was just gonna say too is of course Big Red pops into the party every time and being able to see Big Red, dive into the layers. Yeah, it is. It is so wonderful that you talk about the passing of knowledge. And I love how Dr. Joe has been such an influence in a lot of us. But I have to say, like, I'm almost getting some, the Kevin Bacon second degree where, I'm learning that much more from people that have learned from Dr. Joe and seeing how Steve, like, I mean, well, not only that, but Steve now is teaching his kids. And so Alexa's details, I mean, oh my God, they're so good. And
The
so from a builder
renderings.
perspective, yeah,
Oh,
unbelievable.
wow.
Yeah. So yeah, my again, Big Red's amazing. Sorry, Justin, you were gonna say something.
No, that just that I mean it just totally led into like what my probably biggest highlight of the year is, and just there's so many great people in our industry doing such great work and great things, and just being able to connect at the events that we've been able to connect and learn from everyone. It's just like I just had like absolutely an amazing year, and it just gave me so much motivation to like keep doing what we're doing and inspire others to do the same, and just like never stop learning, right? Like just keep going to the next. Take the time to have conversations with people like Jake or Steven or any of those when you get that opportunity, because like you said, if you don't come away with knowledge or something new from those conversations, it's on you 100%.
It really is. And I have yet to meet an expert in the industry where if you had a legitimate, pointed, valid question that would not make time to answer that question. They're not going to do your whole job for you, but if you need a little nudge in the right direction, or you need clarification on a detail or an item, they're going to take the time. They will make time for the phone call. They will send the email. They'll send you a little sketch. They, you know, it definitely happens. They're all willing to help. I don't know. Should we move on to May? I mean, we could keep going on April. Like we could, like I could keep going.
Yeah, it's funny. Again, behind me I've got my entire year mapped out and I just was just taking a glance because you're right. I mean, it's been such a fantastic year and every month has its perks and I agree, Toronto was great. But yeah, May for myself, the Passive House Northwest group is a group of individuals that I find are like part of that pioneer group, like the original ninjas of Passive House, the adopters kind of in that '09, 10, 11, where the market was down and so they were looking for another way to like get into sustainable homes, and they really grabbed onto the Passos movement. They took a lot of courses from Katrina and really kind of kicked off FIAS in the Northwest. But I find when I get to go down to that group, I mean, I'm really lucky that I get to be the kind of the MC of their daily event. But one, the venues are amazing. And two, just the energy of that group, they're getting 80 to 110 people out every year. And these are people that are not just doing their like first or second passive house, like they're on their like 10th, right? And then connecting with Tessa from Artisans Group and the fact that she now has gotten herself into the development world where this year they've grew their office by literally connecting with Collector Carpentry, and so now they've got multifamily units right beside their office that are all passive house. And I was able to go down in October and see that particular building. So like yeah, to connect with different parts of our community throughout the year is just really exciting. And May is always a time that I get to hang out with the Passive House Northwest group, and great bunch of people.
Yeah. May, I usually make my trek west. close to Sean. Sometimes I even see Sean. Sometimes we do doesn't work out, but I get to see building on the West Coast. I usually get to see a little different designs and meet up with um, people with different building practices necessarily than what I use. And so it's always great when I get to go somewhere else in the country and see how people do things differently. Because, very much the end goal is the same, shelter. That's the end goal is shelter. And it's just a matter of how we get there. And it's what's available to us locally for, ingredients to put in our recipe, what's available to us locally with, skilled labor, because every market's a little different in that regard as to, you know, what's popular for us to use here, close to the Atlantic is going to be a little different than some of the stuff that Justin uses in Saskatchewan and a little different than some of the stuff that Sean's going to use in Vancouver. But then we have all these materials that interconnect that we all happily use.
Yeah, that was great that you got to go see Ben Station. I think he's a real kind of rising star in our world, and now that he's got himself really situated as an energy advisor in that market, that's great because it's great to have him on the show. But he's doing some really cool stuff.
I think it's going to be very interesting to have Ben back um, when he gets a little further down the road that he's on now, and just well, get a little bit about his journey, not his project, but his journey as an energy advisor, and some of the trends and some of the improvements he's seeing in the industry.
Yeah.
Mhm. Well, it wasn't in May, but it was in June that I was on the West Coast, and I attended the Retrofit Canada conference in Vancouver, and then went to Victoria for the Passive House Canada conference. And actually, I was thinking today about um, and something that was interesting at both of those conferences. There were presentations on Indigenous projects that were really interesting. So at Retrofit Canada, um, we heard about a man named Richard Hall presented about the West Coast Building Standard, which is essentially a new standard for Indigenous housing. And if you know anything about Indigenous housing, it's pretty terrible coast to coast. It's like building science horror stories with mold and just atrocious conditions. And so they kind of developed a standard that it follows best building science practice, and it incorporates more appropriate cultural design for certainly West Coast Indigenous people. But when I look through it, I actually might dig out a link and throw it into the chat here, but would also work very well on the East Coast. And then at Passive House Canada, we heard about, I'm going to butcher this, but the Heilsuk community in BC they've got a kit house that's been designed, and you can basically, it's essentially passive house, but both
Don't
both
put
of
that
these
upside down, buddy.
projects are oh, but both
Where's
of these
Poppy's?
are oh, very low carbon, very just really progressive and sensitive, culturally, and get the building science right.
You do
So
realize if you want one of those, I can make one of those any day for you, right? Okay. So why buy? Why do we have to spend money buying them?
Josh, we'll get you to mute.
Oh, sorry.
All good.
How are you kids?
Well, I've lost my train of thought. I was like, I thought he was talking about a kid house for a second.
Yeah. That project
Uh,
is so cool. Laura, yeah, carry on.
yeah. Yeah, no, I think just super encouraging to see, like, Indigenous housing, like, they don't have to comply with the National Building Code on certainly on reserve housing. And so, that's in theory so that they don't have to follow the colonial rules. But really, what ends up happening is they get incredibly bad building, and it's not held to any standard in most cases. And so it's wonderful to see Indigenous involvement in developing a standard or projects. So and I do have some projects that we're working on with here with the Mi'kmaq. So those projects informed some of my work, and yeah, it's just really encouraging.
Yeah, that's so exciting to be able to come over here and see some examples. And again, I mean, that project you spoke about is with our good friend Monty Paulson, our late friend Monty
Yeah,
Paulson, and Marcel that did a lot of work. And being able to get a mock-up done in Chris Hill's new prefab shop is,
yeah.
also pretty exciting. So I mean, it's not just talking about it, but seeing that move forward. And I mean, all I can just skip ahead to October to just talk about that too. I mean, I got to go to Paradigm Panels presentation on the work that they've been doing in the Okanagan and the fact of the forest fires that have raged through the Okanagan in the last few years, and a couple of the Indigenous communities that were ravaged, to see, you know, they had a target of 55 homes and Paradigm Panels did about 18 of them. And so you think of, modular construction that is high performance standard. And I mean, I was super excited because they actually incorporated my favorite company in the world, Balfritz, into some of their designs and some of their kind of like some of the little things. Like for example, the way that they have a Hilti device that helps them lower a panel onto a slab with precision is really cool. So that technology is great that we're not just doing it in, regular jobs, but the fact that we've got them in all these diverse communities and really expand is pretty great. So yeah, no, Retrofit Canada, I think it's going East Coast this year. So um
Uh, I
so
think, yeah, I don't know. Retrofit Keno's in Toronto, I think, this year,
yeah,
but it'll be in Halifax next year, is the rumor. Uh,
gotcha. Well, that's where one place I definitely will see you in 2025. But yeah, so in June it was great. We unfortunately we only connected on the phone while you were traveling around. Again, too busy construction wise here for me, but I totally was living vicariously through. So I'm just glad I was able to catch you on the phone for a bit as you were traveling around. So
And I know we're not talking about 2025 yet, but I think Passivhaus Canada has a pretty liberal sprinkling across the nation of events they're putting on. So
yeah, they
if you're
put out their
thinking about it,
Passive House, yeah, Passive House Pulse calendar got
yes, that
launched
is it.
last week. Yeah, but they're also looking at doing a conference in Ottawa.
yeah, they are.
So
Yeah, in May, I believe.
yeah, in 2025. Justin,
Okay.
what was your number two?
Um, yeah, I mean, it was just a continuation of connecting with lots of good people in the industry. I had the opportunity in May to come and visit the West Coast and go check out a couple manufacturing facilities on some windows and doors. I was lucky enough, our clients actually agreed to come and meet us out there and do some factory tours and just happened to land in Vancouver for a quick coffee with Sean. And he took time out of his day to slug back a coffee and then we got back to her. So that was really good. And then yeah, like our construction season was just like we were off the wall trying to really get stuff done. And I had a project in Nunavut that we were kind of uncertain exactly when we were flying out for. So it was just like all hands on board, just really kind of get as much done before we got the call saying, hey, we're heading north to go kick off that project. And that kind of it ended up being in September. I took myself and a couple of our other guys and the project that we were working on up there, it was modeled out and posed to be like the first net zero home in Nunavut, and that was the goal for the home. I know there were some challenges on the modeling side, and we're kind of switching some stuff up and getting a little more insulation coming in the spring to hopefully get it across the board. But that was a pretty big highlight for us was just kind of being able to have the opportunity to go up there and kind of on the same thing. The housing situation up there is not great. we really were focused on going up there and understanding, the differences that we can make with some high performance building, and really setting a standard of what we can hopefully kind of keep rolling out with a local up there that was he was very passionate about changing the housing situation for his community, which was really awesome. Um, and then yeah, that we got back, and unfortunately we learned some lessons of the north, and we'll call him the homeowner slash developer, kind of learned some lessons of the north, and we continued to learn some more lessons for the months to come until our team got kicked out of there for winter. But and then we hit it off in Austin for a one of a kind. It was something else.
Oh, I don't know. Does anybody have anything else besides me before we get to November?
I mean, August was a bit of a R&R. I mean, I'd say my 2A and 2B, I mean, the Toronto was great, but I got the opportunity to go across the pond. And while Lori was in Switzerland, I went to Germany for Proclima, and it was their 30th anniversary. And I mean, Lori got to see what Siga too, the level of quality control with these companies, like, um, I knew the product was good, but when you just see the level of detail of just ensuring that the product is like, comes out and is tested, and the QA, QC, quality assurance, quality control, just blew me away. Just the machinery, right? Like, you're not talking about some hand tests. These are very sophisticated tests to ensure their product reaches a high standard. And so to be able to see a company celebrate a milestone and put on a real great party with our other friends with 475, it was an honor to be there. And again, just gives you an idea of just the um, the level of sophistication that these materials are at. And sometimes you're like, oh, well, why can't we use North American products? Honestly, like, you just think of the effort that Sega and Proclima have done in their products. Again, it's just that those years of being able to do things and improve, but they're also collaborating. I mean, you talk about us collaborating this year with our friends, and we've, I think, as a collective, have done quite well in the last, say, 5 to 10 years. But they've been doing it for so much longer. And being able to build to this higher standard, that they're just kind of there, and we're still just trying to catch up. So to see that was just amazing. And of course, they know how to celebrate. So it was fantastic.
And they're not afraid to share. And I think that's where we're learning some of this is, you can, short of the proprietary mix of that, acrylic adhesive,
Yeah.
they're happy to share the details, where to use their products. Hey, you know what? We're okay telling you not to use the product for this application, but go talk to our competition over here because they make something that will work for you. And I've seen that more than once now, and it's great to see. And I dare say it's even starting to happen in the North American market. There are
It really
people that are
is.
saying, you know
Yeah.
what? We don't always make the right product, but if you're in this situation, we can point you in the direction of this person. They make the right product for you in this situation. And it's good to see because it will really help push the industry forward. Because there's nothing worse than a rep or a manufacturer giving you bad information because then you install their product incorrectly, which makes you look bad, makes the product look bad, and ultimately it makes them look bad too. But they made that sale, and I think those days are over, or they're close to ending, and just the information is there now.
Yeah. And before we get to November, I was just trying to think again, these dates exactly. End of August. We had number 4.
Yeah, fourth annual International Flashing Awareness Day. So, and I think we reached more people than we ever have. So, hopefully. I know we're not 2025 yet, but hopefully year number 5, we will reach 55 more thousand people.
Wow.
Absolutely. And I mean, the one thing that I'll say about the efforts you guys did, but the it is incredible the skits and the imagery that people will create for International Flashing Awareness Day. Like, I have to say, I definitely have to start planning for it to pick up my game because you know, Aaron and Gina, a few of our friends, they put on a spectacular event, and we
Bloomy.
try to celebrate. But
Bloomy's legendary.
yeah, yeah. So
Oh, and I have one more highlight before we get to November. If anybody's got like an August or a September or
So I've got in August. So while you
hey,
all
there we
were
go.
here for Flashing Awareness Day, I actually was I spent August, well, about 2.5 weeks of August in Stockholm and in Helsinki. And I was there doing an incredible conference called Moving Boundaries, which, it's science based, but really more about architecture um, uh, and like the senses and designing for health and the intersection of like neuroscience and architecture, which was pretty, I mean, it's a pun, but I'm going to say mind blowing. Like it's like, our brains can process something like 11 million bits of information every second, but our conscious minds only process like 40. And so, like, there's so much that happens in buildings that, that can make your life better or way worse. And how do we design for that? And a lot of it comes from the building science, from actually making sure that we have fresh air and that we're the right temperature. And things like light and, the way that the sun like impacts, what time you wake up and stuff like that. It's just very fascinating. So I was really fortunate to be able to do that.
That sounds like a really good time, actually.
It was a really good time and exhausting. The program was 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. for almost 12 days.
wow,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
that's
I,
intense.
But it's a long way to go. So I got my money's worth.
Yeah,
well, yeah, you
yeah.
got to, but yeah, I'm not sure I would still be processing after
I'm,
6 p.m.
I'm I might have ducked out and went sightseeing a day or two, but
I
It
don't blame you
happens.
on that one. I don't blame you on that one at all. Oh, we had some guests before November too. I had Mr. Mark Willie, our foreign correspondent, sitting at my kitchen table with
Sleeping in that bed.
Gina's talking in the background here. But yeah. Uh, anyways, and crazy guy that he is, he brought some friends with him. He brought Steve Basic and Tim Mueller and Chris Cook and the Huber team. And it was a short visit, but it was a lot of fun. Um, you know, it was an odd change for me because usually I go visit Steve on his job sites. So it was nice to have Steve on one of my job sites. Um, actually just covered up a bunch of his big red work on the inside of the walls. It's all insulated now. So,
Hey,
but
those are stories for again when the house gets deconstructed, where they can see what Big Red's all about. That's great. But I mean, I'll have to say, Aaron, seeing your concrete slabless basement slab and having both Tim and Steve, talk about it and learn from you and have a better understanding of, the way you did it versus some of the ways that Steve done it in the past. That was to me one of the informative opportunities when we talk about zero carbon buildings and reducing the amount of concrete, seeing someone else like yourself take on that challenge to do a slab without concrete, man, that is such a slick system that I'm sure we're going to see more and more in the years to come.
Well, if you're already insulating, like if you live in a climate where you're insulating underneath the slab, and most of Canada you should be,
Mhm.
and I would dare say you should be putting at least R10 under your slab in any climate zone. Uh, that would just, my personal feeling. But R20 or better is going to be better. The best one we've done so far is R40 under the slab, but that's a hard budget number to hit with a lot of people,
Yep.
and you're not going to get that. But R20 is very respectable under a slab. It does a pretty darn good job, and if you can eliminate the concrete from that, um, you know, yes, one basement done that way, you're not going to solve the carbon issues. But if I do a basement and Sean does a basement, Lori does a basement, and Justin does a basement, and 1,000 basements are done without a concrete slab, well, now we're talking real change, folks. So
Mhm.
yes, mine was just one, but it's part of that 1,000.
Yeah, 100%.
I think we better move into November and start talking about 2025 soon, or we're going to go long because we haven't even
Ex-
taken the opportunity to ask our guests yet. But yes,
That was that was a busy time somewhere in Texas where
and
that's where we were.
oh, there you go.
Big, big red special. And you know what, before we
Launch.
dive in,
Go
you
ahead.
know what? I'd say the highlight of that is getting this book. Our good friend, foreign correspondent, Mr. Mark Willey, publishes his first of many books that I can't wait to put a couple of these into my niece and nephew's gifts this Christmas so that they can get involved and learn about construction. So Mark, that is a very nice treasure. We appreciate all your efforts to put that out there. And I'm glad that there might be a few more in the works. So again, someone else that doesn't sleep these days, special book. So
That's going to be a highlight for me a little later this month. Some grandchildren are getting a book, and yeah, that's going to be a highlight. So
Justin, any takeaways from Build Show Live?
Yeah, it was just it's mind blowing the amount of talent that
like a
we have in
way.
the construction industry. Like I've only been kind of starting to attend some of the stuff and really start to get involved with some of you guys for the last couple of years, and just every time I connect and continue to have better conversations and just never stop learning.
Oh, go. Oh, you know what? Wow, good pull, you two. Mine's already in the Halloween bin, so can't access it right now, especially with my slow foot. Well
Yeah,
done.
Oh,
and I would say another highlight for me in November was, you know, I became chair of our local home builders association, and it was really important to me to become involved. We had actually over the last handful of years dealt with a lot of building envelope failures in our small community, and I felt it necessary that I needed to um, be a part of our association, understand exactly how the associations work, what parts they play, and hopefully try to make some changes and really start pushing our industry from that side to just do better for our clients, right? And that was pretty important to me. I know I had a couple clients that we've worked on their houses that were um, pretty proud that I went down that path, because it was really for them, that kind of kicked my butt into really trying to do that. So that was another big highlight for me in November, was just trying to continue to push for that change.
Congratulations, bud. That's great.
Well, we should probably very, very quickly hit like the first thing or the number one thing you're looking forward to in 2025, and then get some of our guests to chime in with some of the things they're looking forward to. Um, who wants to go first? What's the first thing or the number one thing you're looking for in the new year?
Hmm.
Everything is gone from my head. Talking about all these great things that happened this year.
There you go. There you go.
I have one word for 2025 and it's retrofits. And that's all I'm gonna
Mhm.
say.
Yeah.
I would agree. Retrofits are going to be a big thing. Um, I'm I'm going to say that I might be having a meal with somebody with the last name Larson that maybe has something to do with retrofitting a building in 2025. So that's going to be my first highlight.
Awesome.
Uh,
Oh, hey,
I have a highlight, and I'm really dumb for not like thinking of this because it's been like the only thing I've thought about for like 2 years. But we are moving into the building that we have retrofitted for my team. So
bravo. That's
finally,
fantastic.
and if you had told us when we started how long it was going to take, I don't know that we would have done it. But it's they're in the final stretches. There's mill work and you know lipstick happening right now. So we'll be moving in 2025.
Absolutely awesome, Lori.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's going to be amazing for you guys.
Mhm. Oh, it's yeah, it's huge. So you'll be hearing all about it.
Love it.
Justin, before we bring guests on, what's the first thing or the number one thing?
I'm just excited. Like we have so many good projects coming up, and just to reconnect with everyone at some more events, and just kind of keep building off of the last couple years. Yeah, I'm just excited. It's I think there's just we got so much potential ahead of us, and whether it's advancing our new construction methods or the retrofits, I think that like that is going to be huge. Like I'm very hopeful for our industry. One big thing that I'm going to make a point of is continuing to advocate our youth for the trades. We struggle so much trying to just get people. I mean we've been turning work away. It's ridiculous. Anyways, but I was able to talk to our elementary school here a couple of weeks ago. It was great. I want to get in at the high school level and maybe have a bit of a discussion with them and just really focused on advocating for more people in the trades. I think that's my biggest goal this year is just yeah.
There's a little bit of movement locally here to do micro credentials to sort of break down the barrier for people trying to get into the industry. Um, I'm actually going to be helping out a little bit with that in the new year. I think I had to look at the calendar. I think it's January 20th. But if it works out well, I'd be happy to, spread the nuts and bolts of that program. It's like an intense 6 week program, give somebody, you know, um, a bit of background, a bit of knowledge, a bit of safety so that they can show up on a job site, feel like they can be useful and helpful. And I mean, job sites aren't what they used to be when I was, coming up construction, but there are still places you land that are like that. And if you don't have a clue, it can be intimidating. So it's just kind of to bridge the gap. It's not a full-blown apprenticeship, but you get your feet wet, you get to play with a few power tools, some of the, important basics to keep you busy and keep you out of trouble. And that goes a long ways to getting you started in the industry.
Yeah.
All right, we got a very short period of time left, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's appropriate that we invite a few of our guests on and see if anybody's got like a highlight or two. We don't want the show to go into too much overtime, but um, if anybody who's on here would like to chime in and you know give us your number one or your top two highlights and what you're looking forward to most, or the first thing you're looking forward to in 2025, that would be amazing.
Which after party, Mark? The after party.
I'd say the one where the sign came out that says, "Where is the beard?" That topped it off. When Mark got the spotlight and the whole club stopped to see who Mark Willie was, that wins it.
We got more attention than the Australian rugby team.
Yes, you did, sir. Yes, you did. That guy right there, he got a lot of love. Yeah.
A scholar, a gentleman, accomplished author. You just never know where he's going to show up or what he's going to do next.
Hey, Armin's here. Hey, Armin. Nice to see you. He's had a great year. Armin,
Hey,
Hey,
thanks for joining us.
thank you, thank you. Love to be here every time. It's lovely. It's beer and
Yeah.
building science. What's not to like?
Yeah.
Yeah. Highlight for me, I think it was sort of a highlight. I went to COP this year. Got to
Yes.
see kind of the bigger scale of like how change making is. And I think it was more of a call to action more than like actually being like, okay, we are in good hands, because there were very few conversations, very few conversations about homes, upgrading buildings, green building. There weren't a lot of small businesses there, and definitely like very few like technical voices, much fewer than what I love to like to see. And it's more about just like high level talks. So that was one thing. But I'm very happy that you guys talked about retrofits. I think 2025 is the year, is the year, it's the big year. And we are, some of I work for Properate. We do home energy rating software, that sort of thing. I see a bunch of like colliding objectives. On one side, Canada has the national home labeling discussion paper that came out, and please everybody to go and read it and comment on it, because now is the time. And on our side, we have been looking into F280. I wonder how familiar are folks here with the F280 standard, the Canadian heat pump sizing standard.
No, it's Armin, and remind me, I gotta follow up with you. If you need more work, I got someone that needs some help with it, so we'll talk.
Okay. Yeah, I would love to talk, but yeah, so F280 is like the backbone of HOT 2000 to some degree, and they're trying to get it to go into more retrofit projects. We tried to comply with the standard, and we have made some progress there, but it's outdated. Like I think that the weather files are from 2012. Some of the stuff are really not making sense for today. So I'm really looking forward next year to really dive deep into some of those inner workings of how we are labeling buildings and how we are like designing and sizing different things. And yeah, I would love to like I'm on that side of things, but I also see a lot of like other activity happening in retrofit. So I'm really looking forward to that for next year.
Armin, great stuff. And I apologize. You got a really good award. I can't remember if it was early this year or was it last part of 2023, but do you want to again, I
Yeah,
apologize. You got
it was CAGBC, I think, or
yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
yeah. Well, again, congrats. No, we'll connect. Thanks for joining us tonight. Aaron, just make sure we pin Armin. We got a couple things we could follow up on him because he's pretty creative. There's some things we should follow up with Armin. I know our audience would
Maybe
really like to hear some of the stuff he's doing. So
maybe we could get Armin to do a little presentation for us on
that's what
some
I'm
of the unique things he's doing.
that's what
I
I'm
would
thinking.
love that. I would love
Yeah.
that. And if you're coming to BuildX, which is in Vancouver this year, we have a session titled "What Happens When Your Energy Model is Wrong." I'm gonna tell you some horror stories there. So,
Awesome,
yeah,
Armin. Great.
yeah.
Well, that's again, thanks for joining us tonight. That's fantastic updates and news. Keep up the great work.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Armand. All right, we've
Well, we got
we've got
couple
time
minutes.
for a couple more, but so anybody who really wants to jump on here.
Pete's got his hand up. Pete, fire away. Good to see you, Pete.
Let's see if you can hear me.
We hear you.
You see me?
There we go. There's
I
your
went
festive
downstairs to
face.
the to a little set and I found a hat. I saw everybody dressed up. I'm like, oh, gotta rock the hat. Real quick, so I give time for other people too. But symposium was huge to me because it was cool to have it up to the north. It was awesome to see that you guys are putting together this like group. It's cool to see in 3D. I think connecting is an amazing way. It makes it feel I guess less celebrity like. You know, you can actually have that contact. You can connect with somebody once you've shared the same space with them, right? Justin knows that better than anyone here. Thanks, Justin. um, and also, actually, too, for me, when I brought that point up of going to the symposium, and then a colleague saying, "Yeah, you know what? I'd really like to do that. Let's do it together." That made me feel like I'm at the right place. It revalidates where you're at, what team you're with, and that you have value. And it's pretty wild because I guess for us that rolls into our next BS meeting that's in January on the 9th. Now we're talking about it. So it's circling back. And although it's, I would say appropriate maybe for our attendees, maybe it's a little bit preliminary, but it's a start point. And I'm not afraid to go to the start points. Keep it simple. If you can explain something simply, you don't understand a complicated topic unless you can explain it simply, is my 2 cents. So April 11th, everybody should have that on their calendar, but that was our first meetup, and I think we were the first across Canada local group, and I'm very proud of that. And Flashing Day, I'm very proud to be part of the red shirt team, guys. Thanks.
Well, kudos to you, man, because you've been killing it on the local meetups, and I I think it should be an inspiration for anybody who's thinking about creating a local group. And yeah, keep doing what you're doing. I think it's beautiful.
That's awesome.
All right, we're going to go into overtime for one more person, whoever would like to, or we're going to wrap it up.
The
think
voice
Keith-
from above is going to speak.
Ba-ba-ba-bum.
So we've had a really big year. Aaron and I have done a lot of traveling. We've been to a lot of events. We've done a lot of things. And we've grown a lot as people, but nothing was more exciting for us than to create BS&BEER Canada as a not-for-profit and to become a hub for building science in Canada, and to hopefully in the future, which I know is a collective goal for 2025, is to become a place for all the people who join us on here to gain knowledge and community and to just be better builders and just continue to share knowledge. And I think this show's been a good start, but the not-for-profit is going to take it a step further. So thank you, everybody.
That is a great way to end it. The only thing that I want to interject was just because these two faces keep popping up in our things, and I just wanted to give a good shout out to Mr. Adam White and of course his brother because the creativity of these guys with intelligent membranes is so much fun, and we get to see them at these live events when they make the trek across the pond. It is always a good time. So I appreciate the White Brothers Intelligent Membranes for what they're doing, and the fact that I have to bring Aaron home. My wife doesn't quite get it, but I love it. So glad that I get to have him home.
To me, when you come through the door,
Yeah, usually I'm late for dinner. I always get in
there,
trouble.
there may be a story where you were standing in the window, and it may or may not have freaked a few people out. But anyways, good fun. That's really what it is. And when you carry a life-size cutout onto a plane, um, yeah, people ask questions, they stop, they take notice. So always a good time. Um, anyways, thank you very much for joining us for our final show of 2024. Fear not, we will be back in January, and we're going to endeavor to do better and be better as BS&BEER Canada hosts in the new year. So hopefully we'll be able to bring you more exciting guests with more exciting topics, and just continue to build on what we're doing, and hopefully we'll inspire uh, another 100,000 Pete's, and we'll have another 100,000 local groups where not only will you be able to join us once a month for a nationwide program, but you'll be able to join once a month, somewhere local where you're going to be able to interact in 3D. All right. If nobody has anything further, we're going to call it quits. All right, then.
Happy holidays,
Bye.
everyone.
Yeah.
Bye,
Have a great
folks.
break, everybody.
We'll see you in 2025.